3D Living Dead Doll Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi everyone! In today's video I'm going to be showing you a Living Dead doll, which is something I'd actually never heard of before. This was a request. So this is a request, but definitely something that's kind of right up my alley, so I really kind of enjoyed making this. It is on a nail tip that I got from BTR Box, part of a set. This set is wonderful because it comes in a box. Anytime nail tips come in a box, I am always super happy because otherwise you should see I've got like this compartment of nail tips. I'm kind of gathering a collection of them so that I have different sizes and different shapes that I don't have to shape them as often and just easier. So anyways, I have this container and it's so much nicer when they're in boxes, so it makes me super happy. So I'll show you guys the nail tips, give a little review on those. Please click subscribe to see any of my future videos as well. So here is the box of nail tips. Like I mentioned, love it when they're in a box. So I'm just going to take off the little sealed little tape thing. Those, if you have a little pointy tweezers, I highly recommend. I always keep one of those whenever I open something because definitely helps out. Now I have found this with all of the BTR Box tips. They are the EcBasket. They're like the same company, just different names. But they fit the curvature of your nail so well. And I'm also going to be showing you guys this nail tip cutter that's got a little, the best thing about this tip cutter is basically just the fact that it has that little catcher on it, because I always know, well, with my other one, I've got a metal one. This one's plastic. I have a metal one that is just kind of, I don't know, you cut them and then they go flying across the room. The nail tips, they're everywhere. And I know in the salon I work at, there are little nail tip ends from the nail tips getting cut off all over the floor all the time. And you step on them and they make this popping sound. Anyways, I also want to show you this just because when you have full cover tips, that's not always what you want. Sometimes you do want a, like a well tip. So you can use a tip cutter, and if you bend it so the tip is going a certain way, you get that little well shape. So if that's something that you're looking for, I just want to show you that you can do that and you can cut a well. So I know that I've always made full cover tips out of a half well tip by trimming off the well. Well, you can do the same thing with a full cover tip if you don't want it full cover, and you can cut in a well. So I just thought I'd show you that. The first thing I'm going to do to start the design is overlay the entire nail with just a layer of white acrylic. I wanted to keep this design just kind of monotone in red, so shades of gray and red. And then I'm going to be adding a layer of clear acrylic over the top of it. So basically it's just black and white, but then it's got a couple different pops of red. It's got her dress, her lips, and her horns. So that's it for the color. Everything else, and I guess her face does have this ever so slight peach hue, but she's pretty pale, so you don't get too much of that. It's just like just a hint. So then I encased it with clear, and now I'm going to be filing it with a 180 grit file just to smooth it out. It was pretty good. It doesn't really need much for filing. Then after that is filed, I'm going to take a 240 grit padded buffer and remove any scratches that first file may have possibly left behind, or probably. It was actually a brand new file, the one that I just opened, so it definitely was gonna leave some abrasion behind. So now taking white acrylic once again, so this is white on white, which makes it a little hard to see in the video, I'm going to begin sculpting out the shape of her face. So I'm gonna just start out with that face shape. It's a pretty round shape since it has that round baby doll appearance. Then I'm going to be dipping a dotting tool into some acrylic powder so it doesn't stick, and basically making holes for her eye sockets. I want them to be very deep. They are going to get filled in a little bit later on, but at this point, just leave them as holes. Then I'm going to smooth it out. There was a little bit of a lip around them just from where the acrylic went that was in them. So just kind of smooth it out with a tiny bit more acrylic. And then I'm going to be adding her nose with white. Now, like I said, she does have a slight peach hue, so I'll be adding that in just a moment. So I'm going to start doing all of her shapes a little bit exaggerated. So making her nose a little bit pointier than I want it to be, her eye sockets a little deeper. That way when you add the cover pink acrylic on top of it, it's going to round those things out. So just keep in mind that you want to keep things a little bit sharper than you want them to be in the end. So then taking cover pink acrylic, wash over the shape of her face and her neck. Like I said, this is going to start rounding things out a little bit, making them a little softer, which is a really great thing since she's a baby doll, or she has the shape of a baby doll, just one that's, you know, made some life choices, that she's got, you know, those nice round shapes. So at this point, you could really make this into just like a baby doll, but we're going to start adding all of her more creepy details. So I'm going to begin with black acrylic, and I'm going to be adding her hair. For her hair, she's got a part down the center of her head, so a very classic kind of Wednesday Addams style look. I mean, not the braids, but just the straight center part. And I'm going to just kind of build up the top portion of her hair, and then I'm going to add the hair that's going around and it goes behind her shoulders. So I'm just going to carry that down a little bit to where I know her shoulders are going to cover it. You could carry it all the way down to the tip of the nail, but that's really unnecessary because it's gonna get covered up with her dress and her shoulders and everything later, so you don't need to add it all the way down that far. Just take it far enough down that you know it's going to be far enough that it'll cover. So take it a little bit below where the end of her neck is. Then I'm going to be adding that same portion to the other side of her head. When you're doing this, try to make it so it doesn't look like there's this division between the top portion of her hair and the bottom. Try to make it so that it just looks like it continues from the top all the way down. So if you need to add some more acrylic, just a bead that kind of washes over the division, go ahead and do that, which is what I'm doing right now. And just make sure everything looks really, nice and smooth and fairly sleek. And then I also added a little bit of an indent right where the base of her horns are going to be so that they sit in there really nice. Then with red acrylic, I'm going to be adding her 2 little devil horns. Now this is the 13th anniversary doll. So like I said, I don't really know all that much about them, and I know that there's a lot of them, but taking these same, the same doll shapes in the beginning, you could really make almost any of them because they all have that same baby doll start and the same shapes. So then I'm going to be doing her dress with red, kind of just with the very tip of my brush, sort of carve out where her arms and her sleeves would be. You don't really get too much of that. If you had a longer nail, you could sculpt out the entire thing, and she's got a cute little devil tail too, the little pointed tail, so you could do that if you had a longer nail and more space. And then she's got very white collar on her dress, so I'm going to be doing that with the white. And I know that since there's that red acrylic right underneath that and there's black acrylic, the white acrylic isn't looking as bright white as I'd like it to be. I will paint that in just a moment and it'll get that brighter white appearance. So now with diluted black paint, I'm going to be adding the little shadows in her eye sockets. So just very dilute it and then just add those right in there. And then also on the bottom of her nose, along her hairline, just kind of, shadowing it, and also add some shadows in her cheekbones, kind of make her look very gaunt. And then shadows underneath her collar. And then I'm going to be adding her little lips with burgundy. So she's got that very small, pristine little mouth that kind of, it all adds to the creepy factor. The fact that she looks so pristine, but then she has these crazy black eyebrows that go straight out to the sides. And then I'm going to be adding her eyes with just black circles to start with. Painting over those the 2 sides of collar, like I said, with just white paint, just to brighten that up so it doesn't look quite so blotchy. And then I'm going to be adding a little highlight down her nose and on her forehead, then filling in her eyes with white. Like I said, very black and white, everything except her dress, her lips, and her hair. Or not her hair, but her horns. And then I'm just going to take and add a little bit of a brightness with a brighter red on her horns and on her dress. So just a little bit. And then add her pupils and her eyes with black. So you just get a very hint of that white in there. So mostly you see is the black pupil. And then I'm going to be adding a layer of gel sealer over the background, curing that, and then matte top coat over the living dead doll. And that is it. I hope you guys like this, and please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram, especially if you guys try out making different dolls and changing things up and, switching it a little bit. I'd love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!